There was a time when Paul Hogan was everywhere. Movie theaters, talk shows, magazine covers. He wasn't just Australia's biggest star, he was the Aussie that the whole world knew by name. With that cheeky grin, laid-back charm, and an accent that made Americans lean in just to understand what he was saying, Hogan became a global phenomenon almost overnight. But today, he's gone quiet. No blockbusters, no cameos, no red carpets. The guy who once turned a low-budget film into one of the most successful movies of the 80s just faded into the background. So, what happened? Where is Paul Hogan now? And how did one of Hollywood's most unexpected superstars go from household name to almost completely off the grid? Let's rewind a bit, because Paul Hogan's story isn't your typical rags to riches tale. It's weirder, funnier, and in some ways, way more human. Before the fame, before the movies, before the world knew his name, Paul Hogan was literally working on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. He was a rigger. No acting classes, no agents, no dream of stardom. He was just a regular Aussie bloke with a quick wit and a dry sense of humour. Then, in a moment that would probably go viral today, Hogan sent a fake application to a national talent show. He claimed to be a tap-dancing knife thrower, and they actually invited him on. He didn't have any of those skills, of course, but he was funny, natural, charismatic, instantly likable. That single TV appearance turned into a career. Hogan created The Paul Hogan Show, a sketch comedy series that ran through the 70s and turned him into a national treasure. He wrote it, starred in it, and shaped its unique brand of Aussie humor. It was raw, unpolished, and totally unlike anything else on TV, and audiences loved it. But Hogan wasn't done yet, not even close. In 1986, Paul Hogan made a movie that would define his life forever, Crocodile Dundee. He co-wrote it, starred in it, and basically turned his on-screen persona into a global icon. It was part comedy, part action, and all heart. A fish-out-of-water story that took a rugged outback guy and dropped him into the middle of New York City. Nobody expected it to blow up the way it did. The film made over $300 million worldwide. It became the highest-grossing Australian film of all time, and the second highest-grossing film in the US that year, just behind Top Gun. Hogan picked up a Golden Globe for Best Actor and even snagged an Oscar nomination for Best Screenplay. Not bad for a guy who was working on a bridge a few years earlier. With Crocodile Dundee, Hogan didn't just create a character, he created a brand. The hat, the knife, the grin. He turned Australian culture into global pop culture. Suddenly, the world was obsessed with the outback, kangaroos, and anything remotely Aussie. Tourism to Australia soared. People were trying to copy the accent. Hogan had cracked the code, and for a while, he rode the wave perfectly. 2 sequels followed, Crocodile Dundee 2 in 1988 and Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles in 2001. The second movie did okay. The third, not so much. By the time Dundee 3 came around, it was clear the world had moved on. The jokes felt dated, the formula tired. Hogan himself has admitted it probably shouldn't have been made. Audiences had changed, and the original spark, that unique blend of innocence and swagger, just didn't land the same way. And then, Hogan disappeared from Hollywood. But the story didn't end there. In fact, that's when things started getting messy. In the late 2000s, Hogan's name started popping back up, not in movie headlines, but in courtrooms. The Australian Taxation Office accused him of hiding millions in offshore accounts. The allegations were serious, and the case dragged on for years. Hogan didn't hold back. He publicly blasted the tax office, calling the accusations baseless and the investigation a waste of time. At one point, they even slapped a travel ban on him, basically saying, "You're not leaving the country until we sort this out." Eventually, the whole thing fizzled. No charges, no convictions. But the damage was done. Years of legal battles had taken a toll on Hogan's reputation, his finances, and his peace of mind. He later said he felt like a scapegoat, a high-profile target caught in the crossfire of bureaucracy. Around the same time, his marriage was unraveling. Hogan had married his Crocodile Dundee co-star Linda Kozlowski back in 1990. They were together for over 2 decades and had a son, but in 2014, they divorced. Afterwards, Hogan stayed in California, settling into a house in Venice Beach. But in interviews, he made it clear he wasn't happy there. He said the neighborhood had changed. More crime, more chaos, less peace. He described feeling like a prisoner in his own home, stuck between his desire for privacy and the realities of a city that never really let him blend in. In 2022, Hogan opened up about something that hit fans hard: his health. He revealed that he was suffering from a serious muscle wasting condition. He said he had no strength left, had lost all body fat, and was struggling with daily tasks. It was a vulnerable moment, and a rare glimpse into how much he'd aged. The man who once wrestled Crocs on screen could barely lift a suitcase. But what stood out wasn't just the physical toll, it was the emotional one. Hogan said he missed Australia deeply. He wanted to go home, back to Sydney, back to the country that made him who he was. But between the pandemic, health issues, and legal complexities, leaving the US wasn't easy. He was stuck, caught between 2 continents, and no longer fully at home in either. Paul Hogan never wanted to be a movie star. That's the irony. He didn't chase fame. He kind of stumbled into it, then rode the wave as far as it would go. And when it started to crash, he didn't beg for more. He just backed off. But his legacy? It's massive. Crocodile Dundee wasn't just a blockbuster. It was a cultural moment. It changed the way people saw Australia. It opened doors for other Aussie actors. It proved that you didn't need to be a polished Hollywood insider to capture the world's attention. Sometimes, authenticity was enough. In 2020, Hogan made one final return to the screen in the very excellent Mr. Dundee, a meta-comedy where he played a fictional version of himself trying to revive his career. The movie didn't make waves, but it wasn't really about that. It was a love letter, a wink to fans, a self-aware farewell to the spotlight. He didn't crash, he didn't spiral, he didn't flame out in a tabloid frenzy. He got famous, he made history, and then, when it all started to get too loud, too chaotic, too ridiculous, he quietly stepped away. Now in his 80s, Hogan lives a much quieter life. He's dealing with aging, health, and the reality that fame fades. But he's also a man who looks back with gratitude, not regret. He knows what he accomplished, he knows the mark he left. And maybe that's enough, because not many people can say they became a global legend by accident. Not many people can say they changed the world's image of an entire country, and not many people can walk away from it all with their dignity and sense of humor still intact. So no, Paul Hogan isn't making movies anymore. He's not on billboards or late night talk shows, but his story, his impact, still unforgettable. But what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and let's discuss. And if you enjoyed this story, give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss out on more deep dives like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.